Welcome back to another episode of George on Sports with me, your host, George. And on today's show, we've got none other than the guy hailing from Kilburn, London, playing for the Raiders, the Cowboys, the Falcons, the Titans, and the Cardinals. NFL vet over 10 years, Jack Crawford. Jack, how are you, my bro?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Just moved to New York, started a new chapter in life. Still retired. But yeah, man, I'm just, I'm good, man. I'm keeping myself busy, getting ready for this Superbowl, and it's gonna be a big one. So
absolutely. But on the note of big news, a guy that you've sacked a few times in your career, Mr. Tom Brady himself, who announced his official retirement. Now, I know he did this last time, same day last year, and obviously it wasn't the case, but this time around he's actually retired. 7-time Super Bowl champion, 5-time Super Bowl MVP, 3-time league MVP. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on, but what a career for the guy. I mean, like, you've played against him, and now he's officially retired. Talk on Tom Brady for a little bit.
For me, honestly, his retirement, I had little to no reaction to his retirement, because all my emotions came out the first time he retired. So I didn't have anything left for this one. You never know. Sorry for the background noise.
No, it's all good.
But you never know. I think he's going to stay retired, but obviously coming out of retirement, you just don't know, if he's going to do it again. But yeah, man, I say my reaction is similar to, or I say my feelings towards it is similar to before. He's, in my eyes, the best player to ever play. Nobody can emulate what he's done. And I feel honored to be able to share the field with him. Obviously, I sacked him. That's the highlight of my career. Just one sack on him is the highlight of my career. So that kind of speaks to how great he is of a player. And I just feel pretty honored to be a part of that story, or that legacy.
There aren't many people, bro, that can say they share the field with the Tom Brady, the greatest to ever do it, let alone to be able to get hands on the guy and bring him to the ground. That's something that, bro, if I was you, I'd have it with black. You probably really do. I'd have that photo.
I got every version of art you could think of. Next, I'm just waiting for my Tom Brady wallpaper, my sack on Tom Brady wallpaper. But
I love that. It's got to be done.
Yeah, I got that.
It's got to be done. We're gonna look at we're gonna move on to the games that happened over the weekend. It's the conference championships in the NFL. Now, at this point in the season, as NFL fans, it's great because we get to see the best teams face each other. But it's also quite sad because it means the end of the regular season, the end of the playoffs, and obviously we then have to wait until September comes around before the season kicks off again. But if we take a look at the Eagles-49ers game, now this game ended 31-7 in favor of the Eagles. Unfortunately, Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, who became relevant, suffered a UCL tear, which is a nasty injury. That Eagles' defensive line pressure was just way too much. And you're a defensive guy, so I want to get your opinion on some of this stuff. But if Purdy was okay and wasn't injured, obviously we saw the way the game was going, do you think this game would have been close, or do you reckon the Eagles still would have won?
No, the Eagles still would have won. I do think at the end of it, football's a game of momentum. So one play can completely shift how the game goes. I thought that there was a roughing the kicker call in that game that completely changed on a punt play. It completely changed the flow of the game. And I think there was a special teams player who ran in and hit it. He went for the ball. He hit the kicking leg, and it's to the referee's discretion. If you hit the standing leg, automatic first down, 15 yards, all of that. To me, it looked like he hit the kicking leg, but that resulted in the first down. Eagles were able to capitalize on that play, and they went up 2+ touchdowns after that, which kind of put the game out of reach. But, I would say that Eagles, just from watching them this season, they're able to kind of, just battle through such tough situations, like being behind against the Jaguars, like coming back and winning the game. And, they've had players go down. They can still kind of rally as a team, I still think they would have won that game convincingly. But, football is a good game of momentum, but I just believe that Eagles just have the talent, and they just don't really have many weaknesses when it comes around to the team in general, and especially in the trenches.
Yeah.
They have such a good defensive line, such a good offensive line, that it's just, man, it's
unfair, right?
To beat the Eagles, to beat the Eagles, you really have to be at the top of your game on game day. And, I think that game still would have ended the same way.
Yeah, I mean, I had predicted the Eagles to win, and the reason for that was, you said it, the trenches. For me, that defensive line with guys like Fletcher Cox and Sue and Hassan Reddick, who equally registered double-digit sacks across that board in comparison to Bosa, who I think was responsible for the majority of sacks for the 49ers D-line. But as a defensive guy, I wanted your opinion on this. The play that resulted in Purdy being injured, the 49ers had a backup tight end, and his role was to block Hassan Reddick off the edge, and he clearly failed. What, I mean, two things here. I don't know why that would have been schemed up, but the second thing is, as a defensive lineman, clearly they took over that game. What's going through your mind when you guys know that you can outrush, you can dominate, you can insert your willpower over this offensive line, and as a result of that, that's what's happened to Purdy? When you guys, I guess you can feel that momentum, you've spoken about it. What is it like as a defensive lineman knowing you can take over the game?
I don't think you ever really know. I think you have high expectations of yourself. Any NFL player, any athlete, you have such high expectations of yourself. You really go into every game thinking that this is my big game, my breakout game, and I'm going to take over this game. There are situations, like you called out, that you have a tight end who is, tight ends are just never, ever as good at blockers on the edge, up against a, Hassan Reddick, who's a premier rusher.
Yeah.
And so, it's easy as a fan or even as a player, you're on the sideline thinking, what are we doing? As a defensive lineman, you're always watching their defensive line also. And then you're thinking to yourself, you're watching these players just get sacks on tight ends off the edge. And you're thinking, what are we doing? Why don't we have help out there? Why don't we, have at least move the back to the side and help the backup tight end who's going against such a good rusher. But these things, it's part of the being a coach and then controlling all these moving pieces. And sometimes things can get away with you, get away from you. Sorry, and one lapse in calculation or one lapse in judgment of drawing up a play and drawing up a pass play when you've got a backup tight end trying to block Hassan Reddick on the edge can obviously change the course of the game. And it's just a situation that's what makes football so exciting in the end. Is who can stay focused the longest, who can stick to the plan the longest, who can do their job. And, I think as a coach, sometimes you have high expectations, just as the players do.
Yeah.
And you think to yourself, okay, we have a quarterback who's capable. The quarterback's going to get the ball out. We trust him to keep doing his job. All you need to do is stay in there and be a body and block this guy for 2 seconds. That's all you need to do. He goes, I could do it. The coaches say, I could do it. And that's how easy it is. Just put your body in the way. Even if you have to dive, just sacrifice your body. Just get in the way. But it's not that easy.
Nah.
It's not that easy. And then, one lapse of judgment, and then that's it. The quarterback's hurt, the game's changed.
And that's it. It took over the entire game, and it seemed to me like the 49ers defense, their heads kind of went down. We saw what happened with Trent Williams. He lost his head a little bit. But here's a point that I want your opinion on. Obviously, in the NFL, number one, nothing lasts for long. We always know that. Number two, they say you can only play who's in front of you. So having said that, there's a lot of talk about the Eagles having an easy run to the Super Bowl. Is that something you would necessarily agree with? Or, again, it's just a case of you play who's in front of you and that's pretty much it?
Yeah, you're 100% right. You can only focus on the man in front of you. You can't do anybody else's job. There's no way. You can look at the stats and you can look at, tough schedules, easy. man, there is no easy schedule in the league. Eagles did not have an easy route to the Super Bowl. I mean, they're going to have a challenge with Kansas City coming up, that's for sure. But there's no such thing as an easy route to the Super Bowl. This league is like inches, and it's decided on such a small margin of error that there's no easy path. And the Eagles have showed who they are. And you know, it's just the job of people who are watching football, coaches, everyone who is not on the team playing in the game, to figure weaknesses of a team. And so we spend so long, when a team's doing this well, we spend so long focusing on weaknesses. We think that they're just like, oh, they're not that like good, or they haven't had a tough schedule, or they lacked a little bit here. No, they've rise to the challenge week in and week out, and they've proved how strong they are. They just have to finish. And I think I think the interesting story is Jalen Hurts, and how, you know, his story to me of him being in Alabama, having a near perfect season, going all the way up until the championship game and getting benched and then coming back. Yeah. And he's like having the similar kind of run now. Can he perform in the big game? Because to me, it's going to make such a great story if he's holding up that Lombardi trophy, bouncing back from what I thought was such a, like, I couldn't mentally handle that situation of him, you know, carrying the team all the way to that championship game and then getting benched in the second half. To me, I couldn't fathom that. To me, it was just like, as a player, I was like, and he handled it gracefully. A lot of people think, you know, they look at athletes, and when they lash out and they act kind of, it seems kind of childish on the outside. But when you pour everything into a game and then you somewhat have you can lose your job like that, and team can just move on from you like that, you can't help but feel some of your emotions and some of the investment that you've put into a team come out to the surface. And so he handled it gracefully. He didn't, you know, he transferred, but he didn't, you know, cause a scene. Yeah. And now it's almost like a fairy tale story of him bouncing back and bringing the Eagles to the Super Bowl. And I just want to see him succeed. But I think it's
a tall order.
It's a tall order, of course. He's already succeeded. Succeeded. I just wanted to see him win a Super Bowl and kind of prove to himself who he is.
So on the note of quarterbacks, flipping it and looking at the 49ers, what do they do now? Trey Lance is injured and, you know, suffered a serious injury. And in my opinion, I don't know if he plays for them again. Obviously, Jimmy Garoppolo was signed as a backup. He had a horrific injury. Whether they bring him back or not, who knows? And then you have Brock Purdy, who's going to be back in about 6 months after he repairs his elbow. What do you think they do at quarterback? There was talk about Tom Brady. Obviously, that's not happening anymore. I personally feel like Purdy is the guy, but there's been a lot of talk about it's probably going to be Jimmy and Purdy and they let Lance go. I mean, I don't know, but what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, the team don't know. They don't know. This is all speculation. When we start talking about next season, man, how are they going to handle themselves this off season? How are these injuries going to heal? There's so many variables in this sport. And then there's the variable of the player themselves and how committed they are. How much do they, you know, how serious do they take their job, and how much are they going to invest into themselves this offseason? The team have no idea, and the team don't want to have an idea by now. The team, they want to get away. They want to just forget about this season, and not forget about it, but learn, but also kind of look forward to the next season, but not speculation can shoot you. You'll be shooting yourself in the foot sometimes if you start to speculate who's going to be the guy. People can keep progressing, or some people can just have one lucky run, and then it's done, and then people can come back with a chip on their shoulder and completely take over the role as a starting quarterback and as a leader of the team. So I don't like getting involved in the speculation. I know it's your job. I know it's everyone, and they talk about football. They love talking about the what's going to happen, And I feel like we should have this all written down so we can put money on it and see who was the closest to this gambling, this gambling technique. But speculation to me as being a player, man, I didn't know when I was going to have a good year. I didn't know that when I was going to have a bad year. And I always thought that every year was going to be my breakout year. And, some things I learned later in my career. And I'm thinking to myself, man, I wish I had figured that out earlier in my career. I would have been that much better. But that's life. That's football, man. You just keep saying that to yourself. Yeah. And you kind of, you see where the chips fall.
So if we look at the Chiefs and the Bengals game, which is obviously highly anticipated, people have been talking about this game for due reason. Two great quarterbacks. They've got history. Yeah. The Bengals have won 3 out of the 4 last games against the Chiefs. Obviously, there was a talk about the ankle. Now, that's another talking point. Mahomes suffering that high ankle sprain in the game beforehand. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, nobody thought he was going to come out and be able to, I suppose, perform the way he did. Travis Kelce was a bit banged up as well. But these games between the Chiefs and the Bengals always come down to the wire. Now, I will say there's been a lot of talk about officiating, and we ain't got to get into that right now because I know that's a whole other conversation. But at the end of the day, you have the shove of Mahomes out of bounds. You add on the 15 yards.
Yeah,
they score a field goal and win the game. Talk to me about this game. How did you see this game, and did you think the Chiefs were going to win?
I don't know, man. It was a close. I mean, the game was too close to call. I was watching the game thinking like, I was thinking, all right, man, Chiefs are going to run away with this. And then I started seeing the Bengals and just like, I don't know, like they've just got something about their team that they just stay in the game when they play the Chiefs, and they have this weird like, I don't know, they just elevate when the moment's called. And I thought the officiating was, if I was in that game, I would have been like, I would have been sick. Yeah. But I have to bring up that call, that shove out of bounds was, first of all, let me ask you what you think of that.
All right. Okay. So obviously I played the game, right? I played for 11 years over here.
Yeah.
Anyone knows if you touch the quarterback in any capacity when they're, to me, it looked like Mahomes was already heading out of bounds. I know people were saying he might have turned it upfield, but the angle to me looked like he was already out of bounds. Yeah. The shove itself wasn't a flag for me. It wasn't the actual shove. I think it's the fact that it was out of bounds and considered like a late hit. And it's the quarterback. We know they like to protect the quarterback. So for me, I would say this. As an NFL guy, I feel like he should have known slightly better, as opposed to. I mean, I feel like there's another way he could have approached it. Perhaps maybe aside from shoving him out of bounds, maybe sort of tried to grab him so it looked like he wasn't actually throwing him away. And I understand they're both going at speed, but I just feel like in this kind of game against this kind of quarterback who doesn't need any extra help, that kind of, it tips the balance in a game where you could see the officiating was heading one way in the favor of Kansas.
It felt that way for sure.
So that's, I understand how it happens, but that's my kind of take on it. But I want to hear your take because obviously you're the guy in the trenches.
So I agree with you to much of what you said. I think first of all, Mahomes flopped.
Oh yeah, right? Yeah.
He died. He flopped, which once he flops, I think the crowd reacts. The ref sees him, arms go up in the air and fall over. The ref thinks, all right, that's the quarterback. I've got a duty to kind of make this call. I'm just projecting, thinking what the refs think.
Yeah.
But they saying I got to make this call. They're just in ref mode. They throw the flag 15, unsportsmanlike or unnecessary rough or whatever. I think that he barely touched him. So, it's tough that the final seconds of an AFC championship comes down to a call that questionable. That's really painful to watch as a defensive lineman, and watch how it unfolded. I felt emotional. I felt sick for that Ossai. Just the way how he he was on the bench, had his head in his hands. It wasn't the game. That's not his fault. They lost, but he's blaming himself at that moment.
And he had a great game,
extra 15. Actually. Yeah, and it's like, but all he thinks about is this was my fault, and so I could feel the emotions he had. I mean, I haven't had a play that, that's cost the team that much, but I have had a play that has cost the team, and I could tell you it is one of the worst feelings. But that's the part of the reason we do this. I think that the reason why I partially agree with you that he should have known better, not because it was a quarterback, it was because of the situation. So the clock's running out. You want to keep him in bounds. Clearly, he's trying to get out of bounds. Any player who's been playing the game for a little bit, once you're in the league, you got to grow up quickly. And so within your first couple of years, once the clock starts running and they're trying to come back or win the game in the final seconds, it's situational football. You keep them in bounds. If you're on defense, you keep them in bounds at all costs. So him shoving him out of bounds is a play that he lost his concentration. He had to have, because everyone knows that on defense. Final seconds of the game, you keep him in bounds. If you're up, you keep him in bounds. If you're tired, you keep him in bounds. Yeah. You don't let them get out of bounds. Once you start to get below a minute and timeouts, and they don't have timeout, it starts to become more about time. It's a game of time and time management, and every second becomes crucial in that moment. So that's where I think he lost focus a little bit, pushing Mahomes out of bounds.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like he was in a just typical defensive end mode where you want to get a quarterback hit on your stat sheet.
Yeah.
And you just want to push him, and out of bounds, you can just put that stat on the stat sheet and you think that equals money. Yeah. But these scouts, these coaches, they watch the tape and they see stuff like that. And then I don't think it's going to hurt him. He's going to learn from something like that. You learn from those mistakes. But, where the coach is watching that tape, when your friends are watching that, when your peers are watching that tape, they're going to question, what were you thinking?
Yeah.
What were you thinking?
It is sad because I think you've probably seen the clip where he's walking back into the locker room, and I think it's Pratt who is behind him, screams, "Why would you touch him? It's my last year. Why touch the quarterback?" And at that point, again, like you, I just felt like, wow, like, this guy's already going through it. And now he's got his teammates. Bearing in mind, there's cameras everywhere, right? Bearing in mind that he's now putting him on blast in front of the world.
That's about the worst thing you can do.
Yeah.
To me, that's just, I know you're emotional. And people say things when they're emotional, but you can't, somebody, how they're feeling.
Yeah.
Somebody who recognizes when they've made a mistake and they're down about it, or they obviously, they've just recognized how they've messed up and made a mistake or cost the team. To be a coach or a player, to come up to somebody and to say it out loud, you're just like, it's almost like virtue signaling, or it's almost like, just all you're doing is just rubbing it, like twisting the knife and rubbing it in. You're not teaching anybody anything, and you're not helping anyone.
I guess it's emotions, isn't it? In a game like that.
Emotions. It's emotion, but it's just a poor display of just, being a teammate. That's a poor display of being a teammate, and I didn't hear that part. I didn't know that.
Oh, you didn't see it?
I didn't see it.
I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you. It's not nice. It ain't nice. Just because
I don't even know if I want to see it.
It hurt me. If it hurt me, like you say, it's going to hurt you as a defensive guy. But
it's going to make me not like him.
Honestly, bro. Honestly, that brings me to obviously the big one in 2 weeks. And to be fair, it's kind of hard to call because at this point there are so many unknowns. Jalen Hurts' shoulder injury, the ankle injury to Mahomes, although he looked all right, and now he's got time to heal. Travis Kelce was a bit banged up. Lane Johnson, who's been solid for the Eagles, should have had surgery. He's put the surgery off the entire season to play. So it's hard for me to say to you who do you think wins the Super Bowl. But if we're talking everyone's healthy, there's no injuries, which way would you go?
Eagles,
okay.
Yeah, I think the Eagles, man, their defensive line just show up. Like, the experience you have on that defensive line, Oh man, they're gonna. I think they're gonna show up on Super Bowl Sunday. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
And the experience you have, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, Hassan Reddick, Sweat.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys, players who have been consistent for the year. And I'm telling you right now, watching these guys play, they all play with a chip on their shoulder. They're all cut from the same cloth. They all get after it, and they're just, man, watching them play is it really is something that kind of brings me back to like, man, it's how fun it can be to play defensive line, and they play it the right way. They're just relentless, just nonstop effort. And I think that they going up against Kansas City Chiefs. Mahomes is good, but he ain't that good. Like, he's not. he needs his help. He needs help from the offensive line, and I'm not taking anything away from Patrick Mahomes. He's obviously one of the best in the league, but it's just that no quarterback can play without protection or good enough protection against the front four like that.
Yeah.
And
you
saw it against the Patriots when they played the Eagles.
Yeah.
And you saw what happened to them and how Brandon Graham made the huge play, strip sack, at a crucial moment in the game. Yeah. And so...
And it takes me back to the Super Bowl with the Kansas and Tampa Bay, where I think Mahomes had the toe turf injury, and he had a subpar O-line, and I think they lost that game quite heavily to Tom Brady. Obviously, it's not a toe this time; it's an ankle, and the O-line is slightly better. But when you've got that front, and for me, I would say the Eagles too, because that defensive line just has the ability to take over games. It's not just one guy, like you said; it's all of them, and they've done it all season long. So I'm with you. I'd say the Super Bowl. I'd say Eagles for the Super Bowl too. Right.
And then look at Kansas City, Tampa Bay. I mean, it was Ndamukong Suh, JPP. Yeah. They took over. They was like the way the impact that you can have, in the trenches. And then look at the Eagles O line.
Oh man!
I mean, Kansas City Chiefs D line, man. Kansas City Chiefs D line, O line. Sorry, D line is elite. They're
Chris Jones,
Chris Jones, he's one of the best rushers, hands down in the league. Interior rushers in the league, hands down.
Yeah.
And then, man, I'm drawing a blank. So Frank Clark.
And they had a lot to say after that Bengals game. I mean, they had a lot to say because there was a lot of disrespect. You got the mayor coming after Mahomes and the Chiefs and everything going on. So this game is going to be, I can see a lot of clashes. It's going to be hot for sure. On that note, are you going to be going to the game? You're watching it from home? Where you?
Yeah. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there with the whole, NFL international crew, NFL UK. The GM of NFL UK, Henry Hodgson.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, all of them guys. Obviously, Jason Bell, OC, Humanura, all of them guys. I'm going to check in with all of them. Dan Fletcher, Maurice Jones-Drew. Big, they got this team, man. I love them guys. They're good people, and they always kind of take it. They love the game, and they love their job, so I love being around them. So I'm going to be there. I'm excited for it out in Phoenix, Arizona, Scottsdale, Arizona. And so it's going to be cool, man. I'm looking forward to it in the desert.
It is in the desert. That's it.
Yeah.
Jack,
man.
I mean, thank you for coming on the show. That brings us to the end. A quick recap of Conference Championship weekend and a look ahead to the Super Bowl. It's always good being able to speak to you. We've caught up a number of times, whether it be at the International Combine, which I believe, fingers crossed, comes back to London again this year, or whether it be at any other NFL event. I mean, it's always good to catch up. But the other thing is, it's always good to chat to guys who have done it, guys who have been on the ground and lived, you can tell the tale. You can have these conversations because you know what it takes to be in those trenches. And I think the viewers appreciate that a lot. I appreciate it a lot. I mean, I know you know that already, but I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, man.
I guess people can tune in. I'm sure they're going to see you doing some coverage of some sort with the NFL UK team.
Yeah, man. Just keep doing this coverage, Just, it's cool, man. It's cool to keep myself busy post-football career, I know people like to say, you know, it keeps you in the game, but it doesn't keep you in the game, man. This coverage, people talk about this coverage stuff, man. It's not. They're lying, bro. It don't keep you in the game. The game is over.
Yeah.
The game is on the field, and that's it. If you're not on the field, man, you're out the game. But it's cool nonetheless because good group of people. You know, I get to talk to you. You're generally interested. This is your passion to kind of you're connected, you know, with the NFL, stay connected with the NFL, and then you kind of talk to people like myself, people or other people who have played in the league, who have experience in the league, and you like to kind of pass along that inside information. So
absolutely, from
that angle, I appreciate my position, and that's what, you know, I enjoy about this retirement. But you know, when I guess we'll have to reconnect after Tom Brady retires for the third time. I'm gonna reconnect with you, and we can kind of chop it up again, and we can speculate about what's gonna happen next, all of that.
With that, what a way to end the show! Thank you once again, bro. For the viewers, I hope you guys love that one. Again, it doesn't get better than Jack Crawford, you know, a Kilburn hometown hero, playing in the NFL for so many years. He can walk the walk and talk the talk. So until next time, I've been George from Georgeonsports, NFL Veteran Jack Crawford here, and we'll see you on the next episode.